Okay, good afternoon. I'm in Home Designer Architectural 2012, got an untitled plan. I'm going to go over to File, Import. This is going to be a quick sketch over on doing this sort of thing in architectural. We'll go to Import Picture. As you can see, I've already navigated to preparatory to this tutorial to a folder where there's an image. And this is for a job that I did in Chief Architect, but this image will serve. And there's the imported image, and you can see that it's a scan of a site plan here in Austin. And what I did in the image editor is I straightened this scan up so that it agrees with the north-south and east-west of the child window or plan view of the software. It's just the way I like to do it. And once it's imported, when you click on it, see there's these handles. Let me zoom back so you can see them. There's a rotate handle, which I don't recommend particularly that you rotate this within the software. That's the reason I rotated it in an image editor before I imported it, but that's just my bias. There's a true north pointer right there drawn by the surveyor. And when you click on it, you get these handles. I can resize it by any of these corners. You can see that my cursor changes. I put it over the handle. And when you left click and drag, you can downsize the thing or upsize the thing by using that. And by using these corner handles for that, you keep the image relationally correct to itself. If you use these side handles like this one, it'll stretch it out of see, it stretches it out and it's no longer accurate. So I'm going to hit Control-Z on my keyboard and undo that. But the question was, how do you know if it's selected? Well, you click on it and there's the evidence that it's selected. There's the center handle for just moving it, left, right, excuse me, or up, down. And then resizing, keeping the relationships correct, and then just stretching and so forth. I'm going to deselect it and zoom in. Where's it? Let's see. There it is. I'm going to zoom in here and see what we have. Select the dimension tool. I've already got the point-to-point tool here, and see this is. See here, the surveyor says it's 20.4 feet. Let's see what it actually is in the software. That's 7 feet, 7'8". And this is supposed to be 37.8 feet here. And we'll just check and see what it actually is after the import. And I've been, jerking it around. It's 14 feet. So I need to upsize this. So I'm going to select it, grab a corner handle, and upsize it. And then zoom in and check the dimensions again. Now in Chief Architect and in Pro, you get a little bit finer tools to do this job, which I'm not going to go into because we're not using Pro or Chief right now. Okay, that's now 24 feet. It's closer. And this one, you always want to check one Y. See, this way up and down is positive Y, minus Y. Left is minus X, and right is positive X. Sorry to get all geeky on you, but that's the way you speak about this sort of thing. I'm going to check this dimension here. It's supposed to be 20 feet, and it's 13 feet. So we're getting closer. I'm going to right-click on the image, grab the image, this resize handle again, and then just check it again. And you jockey this back and forth until you get it pretty close. Let me go back to the dimension tool, see what this is now. 27. It's supposed to be 37. So it's getting closer and closer. That's 14 feet now, and it needs to be 20. In architectural and other lower titles, I don't know of any more accurate way to do this. Perhaps there is one, but this is the way I would do it. Let's check it again. See if it's anywhere near 37 feet. Now I'm reading this value down here in the taskbar. I don't know if you see it, but it's right here. When I'm in this mode here, I don't even care what what might or might not display on the screen. I'm looking in the taskbar. Now it's 34 feet. It's supposed to be 37. We're getting closer and closer. Measure this one. That's 20'4", and it's 18. So we're getting pretty close. Right-click again. Tug on it a little bit, and check. Where's the? There we go. Now I'll wheel in on that thing and check this dimension. Look in the taskbar, see what the value is. It's not quite 19 feet. That's now 35. We're getting very close. Select it again. Again, I'm staying away from these side in-between handles here because that's going to pull it out of its original relationship when it was scanned, which I may need to do, but I'm not going to do it right now. I'm going to pull it out just a little bit more, deselect it, zoom in on my points that I'm, and reason I'm using this 37.8 and this 20, those are the longest single dimensions in here along the Y and X axes. It's not a rule or anything. It just makes good sense because this will give you the best gauge of if there is a relationship correct. Okay, that's 3610. We're very, very close. Let's see what this one is. And that one's 20 feet. We're very close. Okay, I'm going to select it one more time. Right-click. Find a corner handle. I'm just going to give it a little tweak. I'm going to hit the Control key and then left-click and drag. So I'm just going to tweak it out just a little bit. And then zoom back in. And there it is. Left-click drag for that dimension tool. 37.2, and there's no way to get this precisely exact in the first place. That's close enough because from one point, this was drawn in a vector-based CAD program which uses lines, and this scan here is made of pixels. And I don't want to get all scientific about it, but pixels are just dots, and and so you're only going to be able, I can't zoom in here and, let me zoom in and point this out. So you zoom in very close and it's all pixelated. Well, where's the center here? Well, you can only guess. Since it's not a line-based document, that's as close as I'm going to get. Okay, well, I'm happy with this because after I draw this stuff, I'm going to check it with the Chief Architect Incorporated like dimensions, and then I can get it exact. This is just to help me get the general shape, and that's what the whole point of an import is. Not to make it perfect, but to just cut down on your work. I'm going to create a terrain plane. Create terrain plane. I'm not going to do this whole thing because this, it's a tutorial. Okay, there's I think it's a terrain plane. No, I missed it. There's a terrain plane. Yeah. And I'm just going to shape it around what I've got here. I'm going to drag this point here and put it right about there where that property line is. Now, you don't have to make the terrain plane the property line. I just oftentimes do. You can make this out of a CAD object that's not 3D to represent. There's different schools of thought. Now, I need to make a break here. This single line here I need to make into two lines. So that's what this break line tool is for. I'll left-click there, left-click there. Now I broke that that one line into two lines. All right. Again, I'm not going to make this perfect. I'm just demonstrating. I'm going to zoom in here to make this a little more exact. Select this. I'm going to press the Control key and then left-click, and it gives me a little bit greater control over where this thing goes. Also, zooming in gives you greater control. Get that point as close to where it's supposed to go as I can. And then we'll grab this corner here, Control key, left-click, drag. Whoops, I lost control of it. Well, sorry. I'm clumsy today. Yeah, I want it right there. Now this line here, I need it into a curve. Well, there's a tool provided for that. It's this one here, change line to arc. It almost always curves in the wrong direction, but that's fine. This change curve tool Looks like a little triangle. See it? That's what that's for. Again, to get greater control, you can turn off object snaps or just press the Control or Alt key, and I'll put it right about there. I think that's as accurate as I'm going to make this because I'm just demonstrating. Now, I'm going to go to the wall tool. Again, for this demonstration, I don't care what kind of wall, and if I was drawing the actual house here, I would be very careful in picking the wall type and that sort of thing. And we'll sketch this house in. I'm going to skip the bay window and just use the bay window tool for that. Okay. I'm just left-clicking dragging with the exterior wall tool. Okay, and the roof's built automatically. Again, this is a kind of a demonstration. I'm not going to draw on the porch and put in the sidewalks and so forth. That's another tutorial. Now I'll take a quick camera view of this overview. You'll see that I've got a terrain plane and a kind of sort of house. Now the question was, how do I delete the image? Well, if it was me being an old hand, I would just select it and then delete it. And select it and delete it away from stuff where I know the terrain plane's over here, and I know the house and roofs and stuff are over in this area. See, there's a house. But if you wanted to really be careful, you go to Tools, Display Settings, Display Options, and everything that you can see in the program on the screen here is under one of these categories. Like when you import scans like this, that image, it comes in on this layer here. Let me uncheck that. Click OK, and you'll see it disappear. And then only the stuff left that's still turned on is visible. And we'll turn that back on and go to Tools, Display Settings, Display Options, turn that back on. To be totally careful that you don't delete what you don't want to, you just turn it off temporarily. So I'm going to uncheck all these other categories except CAD default. I would never do it this way, but for a new user, if you want to be careful and not have to use Control-Z or undo to erase your mistakes, I consider this a little tedious, but nevertheless, it's careful. And of course, then you have to some degree, remember the layers that you turned off and then turn them back on after the action is done. But this is, if you were like totally scary, this would be the way to do it. And to make sure that you didn't select and delete anything else that you didn't want to, select and delete. Scroll down. There's the rest of them. Perhaps an easier way to do this would, I'm going to click here. I don't know if this will work in this program. I'm going to press the Shift key and click down here. Okay, it doesn't work. Never mind. Works in Chief Architect. Doesn't work in this one. In the lesser expensive titles, you just don't have as many productivity support choices and tools. But this works. Now I've turned off all the layers except this one. And then click OK. Now everything's disappeared out of this except just the image. Let me go to Select Objects here, and I'm going to create a marquee, and you'll see nothing selects. Although there is a house there is a terrain plane, I can't select it because it's been turned off. So this makes it perfectly safe. Now I can left click, and you see that it's selected because of the handles. Or you can right click and then select it, or right click and delete. Then you go back to so that's the question that you originally asked, and I showed you the very careful, safe way to do this. Go back to Display Options and turn stuff back on. I don't want window labels right now. I didn't put any windows in the plan, but I'm going to turn those back on. I don't have any walls railing, but I may eventually. Walls normal, locate. And like I say, if you don't know what these names mean, look them up in the reference manual, find out. It's part of using the software. Walls, attic, text. I'm not going to answer all the questions on why I'm turning some of this stuff on and not, but I'm going to not tediously turn all this stuff on. I want roof planes. I had some roof planes. We'll turn those back on. I turned on walls, and we want terrain stuff on. I turned on the perimeter. Okay. I must have missed the perimeter. Tools, display settings. Come on. Okay. And where's that? Yeah, so if you find something missing in your plan, it's just turned off, probably. There's I clicked features, and I don't have any features, but that's the reason the crane perimeter. And see, now it's selectable and it's visible and so forth. So that's the end of the tutorial. I hope that helps you. Have a great Thanksgiving.